Hello, I'm Dahlia.
And I'm Alma. This is Nightmare on Fifth Street, a horror movie podcast.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode. And this week we are watching House of Wax because I just wanted to watch something a little silly, something a little campy and fun. Because I think I've just kind of been a little Debbie Downer with the past few episodes. So
So
I
we'll
thought,
try our best not to Debbie Downer this.
yeah, we'll try. I'll try very hard, but you know me, I'll find a way.
So obviously we chose the 2005 version then. I
Yeah,
thought it was in the 90s for some reason.
it feels like it should
It
have been in the
feels
90s.
90s. It's the remake, except it has nothing to do with the first one, other
No.
than there's like wax in it, I guess.
Okay, Alma. So, who is in this movie? Who made it? Oh, and we found, I've noticed in the past few episodes, remember how, Alma, how we used to start the episodes where we found these movies. And I realized lately we haven't been doing that. So I apologize. We'll get back into that routine. I don't know where we fell out of it. Somewhere like in the middle, like halfway through this season, we just kind of fell out of it. So I apologize. This one we watched on Prime, Amazon Prime Video, but it was available on like Google Play and a whole bunch of other ones too, though.
This movie is directed by Jaume Colette Serra, written by Charles Belden, Chad Hayes, and Carrie Hayes, starring Jared Padalecki, Chad Michael Murray, Alicia Cuthbert, Robert Richard, Paris Hilton, Brian Van Holt, and John Abrahams. Now, I'll go ahead and start the movie off. It is rated R. This movie has some gore in it. I think some really good special effects, like makeup special effects. I know Dali loves that. A
I
few
think
good
it's really
moments.
good in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like it. So this movie is rated R, but under the parents' guide listed under profanity. I think it's important that they did note that there were two times in which homosexuals were described in a derogatory fashion. And for a little bit on the I just don't see how it's offensive side, under violence and gore, it's listed that a man is seen with a disfigured face. That's a direct
Are
quote.
you fucking kidding me?
Under violence and gore, it says, and I quote, a man is seen with a disfigured face and
Ah.
rates that PG. Shall we discuss the disfigured people as a horrible trope?
This is horrible because we're consuming it too. It's hard. Yeah, you're right because it is a horrible trope. Oh, this is our third movie maybe that we've watched like this.
Yes, because
The
the
Hatchet movies,
El
it
Orfanato.
yes, and then this one.
Mhm.
So interesting.
Well, I've seen it listed that in one of the bad reviews in the movie El Orfanato, that the little boy being disfigured in his face. To me, it looked like he had like his face had a lot of scars on it, like maybe burn scars or something. But it's offensive to keep trying to make that as a point of a jump scare or something. And in this case, the man's face isn't offensive. Like their faces are not offensive. And it's just like, well, anyway. Okay. For trigger and content warning, there is a very intense and traumatic opening scene of child abuse. Well, we won't go into detail about it because it's too real, in my
Y-
opinion.
Yeah, we when we started watching it, I'm like, okay, so we're watching. Wait a minute, what's going on? And then I'm like, I told Alma, how come I don't fucking remember this beginning? Because I'm traumatized right now. I could not watch it. So we won't go into detail. Just know that I think you can watch this movie. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've watched the movie. But if not, don't worry, we won't go into it. And if you decide you want to watch it afterwards, skip the beginning part because it's not. I don't think it's necessary to the movie. They're just letting us know that there's these two little boys. They did not have a good upbringing, and one in particular seemed to be the target of his parents. We'll fast forward from that point because, like I said, I don't see that it's relevant. As a matter of fact, as I was going on in the movie, I was like, I don't know. Did you see that their background of how they were raised was relevant at all to the way they acted?
Well, spoiler alert, I thought perhaps one twin was supposed to be the good twin in the movie. And then it ends up that they're both murderers here. So I thought that the scene in the beginning was going to allude to the fact that one of the twins is bad because he was abused and the other one wasn't. But then it just seems completely unnecessary because they throw that out the window because both of them are murderers.
Yeah, they're both murderers, and then they speak. I think that was their mother that had the wax house. Again, it really, yeah, it could have done without the beginning, I think, in my opinion. Okay, so like I said, we'll skip over that part because I personally don't feel as part of it. Maybe there's an extended cut that explains it a little bit more, but I'm not going to watch that if there is. So, the beginning of the movie, we see the wax dripping and melting and all that. And I told Alma that I fucking love watching candles when they melt and they have the wax dripping down and the way it dries and all that. It's like one of my favorite things. If you can have a candle that you can burn over and over and over, that you're building those lines. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. I love it.
Hey, did you realize the movie was shot in Australia?
I saw that. I'm like, what was the point?
Well, it's
Why?
it's strange because I think they're supposed to be originally coming from Florida, but they're in Louisiana. But the trees and stuff, they just look off. And so I was like, why does it look weird? And it's because the scene when they're driving and all the trees, they're all eucalyptus trees. And it's like, because we don't have those here. So of course it looked funny. So it's just, I guess that's like a random movie location where they were able to build that town that they end up in.
Okay, so now we're gonna get back to the movie, and oh my god, Alma, Jared Padalecki and that fucking mustache and that weird little beard shit he's got going on. What the fuck?
His I was like, was that the style for that time? Like the barely there facial hair. But it looks purposeful, so it looks like you had to trim it to look like that. It definitely was like shaved in that fashion, but barely there, barely growing in, and it just was whoa. I don't think you remembered that he was in this movie, right?
No, I did. We'll get to it in a little bit. There was
Uh-huh.
something about him I didn't remember in this movie, but yeah, dolphins in the background going crazy. Probably
Hey,
some child
dolphin.
is walking by the house because that's what he
The
does.
mailman.
So yeah, so we're meeting everybody. We have Sam Winchester over here. We have Paris Hilton, who, by the way, has not aged. She looks the same. And her hair, remember we even commented on it. She starts walking and her hair is like bouncing so pretty and like it's curled. And then you said something like it's a different hairstyle when she stops or something.
Yes, because her hair was different when she was sitting, and then she stood up, and it was like a Revlon hair commercial. Like, she steps out, and then all of a sudden, it's curly, and it's flowing everywhere. It's like, it wasn't curly a minute ago. It just all of a sudden had a curl in it. But remember, we both remembered that Paris Hilton guest starred on an episode of Supernatural that was also set in a house of wax.
Yes, and I was gonna talk about that later because I actually love that she was in that episode because I thought she had fun with it, made fun of herself a little bit, but we'll get to that later. Anyways, okay, so we're meeting everybody. We're meeting these two. They're stopped at a gas station, like on the side of the road, small town, little gas station. Paris Hilton is there with her boyfriend, and then we have two douches that come out of the store, the little country store, and I call them douches because it's like they always make them look like that. They come out and they start acting stupid. Like I think one kicks somebody's something over and like didn't even know. I was like, what the fuck was that about? And then the dude with the red cap that's to the side, so I call him side cap for the rest of the time. And also we have Sam with his girlfriend. They are on a road trip to go to a football game, and okay, so I didn't understand this. Was that dude gonna be in the football? Was he playing? Is he a football player, or he wanted to go see it?
No, I think we joked that he's each one of them was a stereotypical, trope, kind of like the jock, the bad guy, the douche, and we figured he was the jock because he kept talking about the football game.
I actually love road trips, and I miss them. I love to travel in general, but I've really been missing road trips, and, like, the couple of times I was able to go down to the valley, I was like, "Oh, this is great," but I like really long road trips, and I can't wait to start doing that again. So they decided to take a shortcut. And you know what shortcuts mean? I mean, something's going to happen. And then not only that, but on the shortcut, there's a detour sign sending them off somewhere else. And again, I mean, come on, guys. Come on. I don't fucking take a detour down the street.
And
I'm
you
not going
don't
to do
take
that.
one in 2005. Not everybody had a cell phone. I mean, people get lost today and today with all of our technology. It's 2005 and they're like, let's take a detour. You're going to get murdered.
I have no idea how I functioned before. it was I had everything. I mean, obviously I did. I remember when it was a thing where I can go on MapQuest and print out the maps, but then I started wasting so much paper doing that, so I would write it all out and I'd have the piece of paper next to. Oh my god, but of course, I was driving around before that. I did that thing where people do in the movie what people do in the movies. I remember I was looking for a friend of ours, place. She gave me the address, she gave me the relative directions to her, and this was in the 90s, okay? And then I kinda got turned around and I couldn't find it. I went into a gas station. I went into a gas station to ask for directions. I was just like, because that's what you saw in the movie, so I figured that's what, you do. I remember asking, and the person had no idea where I was. So I just started driving, like, "Okay, she kinda said over in this area," and I just found it, like, just by chance I found the place. So of course, now that they decided to take this shortcut, and y'all can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes, this shortcut, and it does a detour. Well, I did the fingers for detour too, but it is a detour. But maybe they had decided they had it was part of the plan for them to camp because they all had tents and shit. I'm not gonna fixate on that. So they're camping, and then we got shaved head dude over here. He's the bad guy, and he doesn't like Sam at all. So Sam, I thought that the
She's
shaved head guy was used to date Sam's girlfriend because I got like an ex-boyfriend girlfriend vibe there, and I thought he didn't like him because, he's the new boyfriend, and then I started thinking, well, he came along because the other people are friends, so that sometimes happens, like, remember on Friends that happened? So I'm like, "Okay, that explains why the ex-boyfriend is there." So
yeah, that was a good reasoning behind it because they're supposed to be brother and sister, which is what I always remembered. I kept saying, "No, no, they're brother and sister." I remembered them being brother and sister, but they don't act it good. And you're saying it, but I kept repeating, right? The whole time we are
Yeah.
watching, like, no, I remember their brother and sister, but they didn't act it at all like brother and maybe they didn't tell them they were supposed to be brother and sister.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Maybe they didn't read their scripts all the way through and
Oh,
they're
there you
just
go.
reading the lines, right?
And
Because
then, like, it pops up like, "Oh, we're supposed to be twins." Yeah.
yeah, because sometimes I think it's interesting when actors will say, "No, I didn't read the book," before they start to do a movie when it's an adaptation of a book. And I'm like, "How do you not research the role before you do it?" Right? So in this case, I'm sure that's what it was. They just didn't read the script beforehand. Every day they just read the lines in front of them and were like, "Oh, okay, hot chemistry between me and shaved head."
And my brother. Okay.
His
But
name is
yeah,
Nick, by the way. Nick.
okay, okay,
Nick.
okay. So bad boy is being mean to Sam, and,
Wade.
Wade, and he apparently there's a history there too because bad boy stole a car in the past and he blames his ex-girlfriend slash sister for telling on him, and then he went to prison or jail or something for that. So that's where the animosity comes from. It's not because they're a broken up couple. It's because he's like, I can't believe you turned me in. And I'm like, but this happened maybe a little, not like a long time ago, but enough time to where it's like, okay, you guys could have resolved this before you came on the trip. I don't know. Family things are complicated. We know that. But anyways,
Yeah, but it was definitely more like she had just picked him up from prison to go on this field trip together.
well, see, here's the thing because I thought a red side cap was her brother, because they seem to have kind of a very brotherly, sisterly kind of jaunty vibe. Because remember, they took him into the tent and they had him come out dressed kind of silly. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we used to dress our brother up like that. He was a little brother and we used to dress him up. So that's why when I saw them do that to Red Side Hat, I was like, oh, they're the brother and sister. I remembered there was a brother sister in the movie, but I didn't remember that it was them two. And this is where I asked Alma, I'm like, how does he keep that side hat to the side like that all the time? And what did you say, Alma?
I say he holds it in place with bobby pins.
Because it
I mean,
never
obviously.
moved. It never fucking moved. It was always to the side. I mean, like, even when I'm wearing a regular hat the correct way, it fucking moves around and shit. But when he had it cocked to the side, it was like perfect. It stayed there. It's like he fucking like had some kind of like Velcro inside of it and attached to his head so like it could stay on or something. And yeah, I don't
Definitely
know
with
what.
definitely with the red hat on, he was punchable, but when they played dress up with him and he took it off, he looked like a regular person. So, I think when he auditioned for it, they're like, "You don't look douchey. You need something that makes you look douchey." And then they gave him the red hat. And remember in Carrie,
I
the
was
chick with the
just about
pin?
to say
You
that.
hated her so
I
much. I was like, "Take
fucking
that
hated that
fucking
bitch.
hat off." Yes, that bitch. When she took that hat off, she looked like a total regular human being. So
She
that's
fucking
why.
wore it to the prom too.
Yes.
Ballots, please. Ballots. Ballots, please. I fucking wanted to punch her face. She did that role very well.
Yeah, she did. She was, "Oh."
All right, so it looks like they're enjoying themselves camping. All right, okay. It looks like it's going to be fun. I can't remember a single time that I had fun camping, but whatever. Okay. This is also the second movie that we watched where they were camping and something happened. While they're like having a good time and all that shit, they the wind turns, or what is that what it's called? The wind turning? What is the expression? Anyways, the wind changes direction there. That's the way you say it. The wind changed directions and they started smelling something funky. You know how sometimes when you live near like a farming area and like if the wind's blowing in at the right speed and from the right direction, you could smell the manure. Well, I guess that's what happened. The wind changed direction and now they can smell death in the air. Probably some dead animals nearby. And they're like, the smell is really offensive, but I think the winds change because they end up having fun anyways. They keep going on. And while they're drinking, having fun, this truck pulls up. And here's the thing. Okay, this truck pulled up and it had its brights shining on them. And then they started antagonizing the driver. I mean, like, you don't know what the fuck he has. This is what I say about anybody. Don't pick fights with people that you don't fucking know because you don't know shit about the other person. They could be someone who is very homicidal, very intent on doing something, just because they may look like, oh look, they're very docile. No, nope, you don't know. You may have caught them on a bad day, so don't mess with them. So they decide, they're like, it starts off kind of like, hey, what you want? Are we on your land? Is this private property? And then fucking bad boy decides that he's gonna throw a fucking beer over at the truck, and they break the headline. I'm like, motherfucker. Okay, and this is the catalyst for it all. Okay, everybody, now they deserve whatever's coming to them.
Yeah, we
Because
always
fucking bad boy over here decides he's going to throw a fucking bottle of beer. Truck dries off, and then they kind of seem uncomfortable for a little bit, but it doesn't seem to bother them that much. I would have been terrified and up the rest of the night. I wouldn't be able to sleep. As a matter of fact, I would have insisted that we drive away because they could have been on this person's land. So if I see a scary truck come up, just stare at me with its brights on. I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. But they continue having fun. Side hat guy has a camera and he's filming all the fun. And Alma made a comment, and it's funny because I didn't catch it right away. You know how we always use now today we use our phones to film everything. He has like a legit camera, like a video camera, and he's filming everything.
I think it makes it look more perverted. Like, he just looks like a perv, like, voyeur who videotapes things, and there was nothing, like, creepy about what he was doing, but the fact that he had the camera out, like, in everybody's face, even though we do it with our phones now all the time. It's just, who does it, you have your phone out making, but the fact that he's holding it, like, for some reason, it's just it's just creepy. It's just creepy, and I love that you weren't calling him a creep, but, like, you just kept calling him side hat. Dalton, by the way, Dalton. You just kept calling him side hat, and the whole time I'm like, creepy pervert douche guy.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, because I was that hat. I just couldn't. I get fixated on stupid shit like that. So they end up having a good night. They all go to bed, and then we see that side hat gets up in the middle of the night and he starts filming, like just kind of like going around the camp filming everyone while they're asleep. We see him like probably he got up to pee, grabbed his camera and started filming everyone's like, pervert. What if they were doing it? It's probably what he was actually trying to do was, film them while they were doing the lovely time.
The lovely
Yes.
times? The
And
what
that's
do
what
they
it's
call
called.
the wild monkey dance?
I've
I
never
remember
heard
hearing
of
that when I
that.
was a kid. They would say that. People did.
Who's they? Who's
People,
they?
people said it. Look it up. Search it up.
I am not gonna look that up.
Well, you see, when he kept trying to film, he was definitely trying to film Paige and Blake. Paige and Blake was
Who's Paige and Blake?
that's Paris Hilton's character
Okay, okay.
and
Her boyfriend.
Richard Richard. Those two, their characters, you kept bringing up that. Well, first of all, he had his camera in their face all the time.
Yeah.
That he was trying to capture them doing it, but they're pretty much it was really PG as far as the sexual content because it's just insinuated or inferred and but we kept making a joke that they kept making it seem like they were having sex the whole time, but there's nothing. They
They
just make
never, yeah.
they do some light petting and a little making out,
Yeah.
not even making out. It wasn't even like
Well, there
making
was
out.
that car scene, but even then they didn't show anything.
Yeah, they didn't show anything. It's just like, it might as well be like that scene from The Blob where they're two sitting in the car and
Oh.
I'm like, for real.
Yeah.
To me, it was like sweet. They look young, they're college age, but for this kind of movie, I expected there to be not like expected, like, where's
But
my
you
boobs or whatever.
no, no, I think it's because it is expected in these type of movies that you're going to have something like that and there wasn't, which is a nice change. So the next morning, uh what's her name again? The girlfriend?
Her name is Carly.
She goes to go, take care of business, and, does Paris
Car
Hilton join her?
Yeah, they go together because you gotta go pee
Okay.
together.
While they're using the restroom, that smell from last night, the death smell, they smell it again. How many times can I say smell? So, yeah, and this is I was like, "Okay, so they smell it again." But she fucking decides Paris Hilton's friend decide that she's gonna go and find out where it's coming from. And they both commented on the fact that it smelled like something was dead. If you thought something was dead, why the fuck are you going to go look for it? And for some reason, well, I don't think it was really Paris Hilton because Paris Hilton was just following along, but that Carly decides that she wants to go check it out. I'm like, and they commented on the fact that it smelled like something was dead. Why the fuck are you going to go look for it if you think something's dead? Like, even as an animal. I mean, because unfortunately, Alma and I have experience with that smell. And it's not like we went, hey, Alma, let's go figure out what that is. No, we knew what it was. Let's leave it alone. That's it. So they're walking, and they're going through shit. And what happens?
She falls into a pit of rotting, disgusting, just it looked like sludge of dead roadkill animals. It was way too many horned dead animals. Like, really? Why did everything look like it had horns? Like elk and moose were mixed in with deer or something. Maybe that's what they had for props or something. And
Yeah.
she fell in that sludge. This part pissed me off too because, like you mentioned, Carly was really curious and it's annoying because it's okay
Mm.
to be curious, but to investigate. Paris's character, Paige, isn't curious. She's like, that smells. I'm not gonna go look at it. At
Yeah.
every point, Carly is like, I what is that? Let's look. Trying to wander off on her own. And that's why she ended up in that pit because she was stupid and she deserved to be stuck in there all gross with the smelly shit.
Yeah, it was really gross. I could only imagine. Ugh, nasty. So she falls in and she starts freaking out. And then she sees a little hand coming out of the stuff. And then it's like, oh my God, what's going on? And now we see what? We see the truck from last night, we think, pull up. And it's like, oh shit, oh shit. So she's trying to, they're helping her up and everything. And it's like, oh my God, the guy's back. What's going to happen? And he's just looking at them. and they're just like looking at each other. And he goes to the back of his truck. So he starts pulling out a deceased animal to put into this pile that apparently he's been the one that's growing here. So he's just kind of looking at them like, "What are you guys doing here?" But he's continuing on doing his job and everything, and they're all like, because they're looking at him like, "What's up with the roadkill pit?" And they're also like, "There's a hand in there," and they're like, "Well, don't you see that?" And they're like freaking out. Well, I don't know if they're all freaking out, but they're all very nervous for sure. And he's like, "Oh yeah." And he's starting to walk over there to the hand. And it's like, "Oh my God, is he like a serial killer?" And he's going to show them the body that he just dumped or something. And then he pops off a little mannequin hand and he starts joking around how like he saw it on the side of the road. He thought it was funny, put it into his little animal pit there. And they're like, "Oh, okay." So they feel like so much more comfortable because as soon as that happened, "Oh, he's a good guy. Yeah, let's go off with a stranger now." Because that morning they also found out while Carly was over here following the smell of death, Sam and was it Bad Boy and side hat guy find out that I think it was Sam's car, his fan belt was broken. And he's like, "It's a brand new fan belt." I'm like, brand new fan belt. I don't know when the last time my fan belt was replaced or whatever. Okay, he knows it was a
He's a
brand new
bad
fan belt.
boy. He built his car from scratch because that's how the bad boys do in the movies. They gotta know cars and they gotta know bad boy stuff.
Oh, that's right. It was the bad boy's car. You're right. Okay. So they decide they're going to ask the guy. They're like, "Hey, where's the nearest gas station? And so I can get a fan belt." And he's like, "Oh, just over yonder here," and stuff like that. So the truck guy offers them a ride. And Carly's like, "Yeah, sure." Du-du-du. She changes her shirt real quick. And because remember, it was covered in all that gunk, animal gunk. And she just goes with him? Like, she was just gonna be okay. I don't care if he is a nice guy. You don't go with fucking strangers in their truck in a place that you have no idea where you're at. And she decides she's gonna go. So obviously Sam has to go now because he's not gonna let her go alone. So off they go. We have Carly, we have Sam, and we got truck guy, and they're driving and they're talking. And I don't know, right away, even though she was being like a little too trusting with truck guy, they were both being kind of rude in the car, talking about the smell and, "Oh, I wouldn't be able to get used to it." When he says you get used to it, I'm like, okay, even if you think that, don't fucking say it. It's rude.
That's really
It's like,
snooty. He gave them a
yeah,
ride. It's obviously his job. People do that as a
yeah,
job. But not only that, they know why the smell was there. They
mm-hmm,
know where the smell is coming from.
yeah.
He's getting the deers get hit, all that stuff. We're just gonna leave it there for more people to get damaged. He moves it out of the way and he throws it somewhere where it's out of the way. And right, we were so offended at their snooty attitude, sitting there like "Ew," trying to cover up their noses. You saw what he was
Wanted the
doing.
window open too. It's like, I get it. I get it. I've smelled offensive things, but I do not fucking let the other person know because that's fucking rude. So again, I've made up my mind that they deserve whatever's coming because you got to have respect in these movies. And the second you don't have respect and you start going off and doing shit, you know, you deserve it. Sorry. Then when they're driving, now she gets all scared of truck guy because at first she was all like, "Oh, let me go with a stranger in his fucking truck that I don't fucking know," and I'm going where? I don't know. I'm just gonna trust his word. So I know I'm doing the back and forth, like I'm saying. But now she looks down and she's like, she sees a knife and she's like recoils. It's like, and then Sam's like, "Oh my god, a knife!" And I'm like, they're clutching their pearls. It's like, oh my fucking god! I told him, I was like, that's ridiculous. I carry a fucking knife everywhere I go. Sometimes I forget I have the knife on me.
Oh yeah, you told me that. And I was like, well,
Don't
where
don't
you
say where I've taken it. Don't
Oh,
say it
okay,
because
never
if
mind.
somebody says,
But I've
"Hey."
also had to remember because it's like you don't realize that some places you're not supposed to take it inside or whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
mental note: go through your giant fucking and you carry like a normal amount, like a normal size purse.
I
I
have a
have
very tiny purse and the entirety of the purse is filled with my knife.
with your knife. It's a knife bag. She's seriously just carrying out a knife bag. I carry around a tote that's the size of my torso, and I put you've seen my bags. So much shit there. I got snacks for everyone. I carry my giant cups of water. I never know what I'm gonna need, but also I end up just throwing crap in there. Like why are these beats inside of I like the over the ear beats, and why are they in my purse? Why are they in there? Why am I taking that to Target? But anyway, yeah. But it was a big knife. It was a normal, like a little bit
It
bigger than
wasn't a
normal.
big knife. I
It's a
um
little bit, not huge, but yeah, yeah.
I'll show you my knife right now. That wasn't a big knife. Anyways, no, yeah, that's funny because I was recently somewhere. I can't remember. It was the only time I remembered to take the knife out, but it was only because I needed to wear it. And the way the way it was, I was wearing it. I was trying to hide it with my jacket, and I just couldn't. I'm like, fuck it, just. I'm in Texas, Dahlia. Just walk. It was just like that's the other thing too. Here in Texas, look, politics aside, you're gonna see some knives when you're walking around, so you just get used to it. So he does get offended, and because they're like, I mean, you saw what his trade was. It only makes sense that he's gonna have a knife, but whatever. We've been talking about this long enough. It just can't, the reason I keep talking about it though is because yes, they should never have gotten in the truck with a complete stranger. But when you are thinking that he's a nice guy, because that's what she thought. That's why she hopped in the truck, like like a pendeja over here. She hops in and she's gonna go off with the stranger. Then she starts insulting him because of his trade. So yeah, sorry guys, you deserve what's coming. So they end up parting ways just a little bit before the gas station because again, offend, whatever. And they go to the gas station and oh my fucking god, there were so many fan belts. I don't think I've ever seen a fan belt at a gas station, let alone many fan belts.
It was a fan belt store. It's just like just 4 fan belts.
I don't think they have that many in AutoZone. What the fuck? They had this entire wall they had all these fan belts, but they don't have his. In the meantime, we got Paris Hilton, we got her boyfriend, and we got Side Hat, right? Am I missing someone? Oh yeah, I'm Bad Boy. So they decide they're going to go ahead and go on to the game, and they're just keeping in contact. A couple of them have cell phones, so that's how they're keeping in contact. But then as they're going, they get stuck in really bad traffic, and they see that they've missed the game. There's no way they're going to make the game on time, so they decide to come back, turn around, and go back to the camping place they were at before, stay there so they can meet Sam and Carly back again later. And Sam and Carly are walking around this cute little town. I love cute little towns. I think they're charming. And I hate saying charming because that's kind of like I think that's insulting because people live there. But I lived in a charming little town in New York. It wasn't even a town, it was a village. And I fucking loved it. I loved it. It was so I hate saying adorable, but it was like the neighbors that I had there, if they came knocking at my door, like you didn't call beforehand. You just showed up at the door. I didn't do that, but they did. They'd come knocking on my door. And when they heard me unlock the door, I remember my neighbor would say every single time, "What do you think? You're in the city?" I'm like,
I legit never answered the door even for my neighbors, and they would say, "Alma, we know you're in there." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm still not.
But it is a cute town, so I love cute towns. If little towns like this are made up for are made so tourists can come, I will go there because I just find them very interesting and charming, and I love history and all that shit. But anyways, they're walking through, and then we see the movie theater, and the movie theater was playing one of Alma's favorite movies.
Yes. Whatever happened to Baby Jane? Fucking love
Mhm.
that movie. When Dahlia mentioned it, I think she was trying to say that she hadn't seen it in a while, but I got
Mm.
all offended. Like, why the fuck haven't you
Yeah.
seen that movie?
She didn't
Stop
even
the
let me
movie.
finish.
Let's go put it the fuck on. Okay. I remember I tried to get my husband to watch it, and I think he's fallen asleep a few times, but he will fall asleep like as soon as you put something on TV.
Oh.
But I love that movie. It's so good, and I saw it's up on the marquee, right?
Yeah.
In big words, and it was like, and that old theater. It looks like the old theater in any town. You're right. It
Uh-huh.
looks
I
charming,
love it.
quaint. It was really it's
It reminded
cool.
me of the Rialto. Remember the Rialto? That's where we used to see our scary movies, the 2 for ones. But yeah, so they see that and then they see a church and they're like, "Oh, okay," because Okay, so earlier I mentioned that they had all these fan belts there, but they didn't have the size they needed. So that's why they're walking around town. They're not just, like on vacation or anything. So they're looking to see if they can find somebody so they can get help with their vehicle. And they see a church and they're like, "Oh, it looks like maybe some people are inside." So they're thinking, "Oh, church service." I don't know. They never say what day of the week it is. They decide to go into the church to see maybe if there's somebody in there, and they open the door and there's a funeral service going on, and they're like, "Oh my god, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed." So they sneak out. And I told Alma, I'll keep this brief, I promise. But it reminded me of, we had to go meet somebody to make arrangements for my mother. And we knew that there was the church, and apparently the church's administration offices are across the street, but we did not realize. So we walked into what we thought was going to be like an entryway. You walk in, and then you would walk into the what do they call, what is a church thing called?
The foyer.
No, no, no. What is the place
I
where
was
the
just trying
people
to be
sit at
funny.
the church?
You mean the altar?
No,
The
where the people
pews?
sit.
The
But what is
pews?
that place called? The whole place,
The church? The auditorium.
the auditorium. Is that what it's called?
You
Oh
can
my
tell
god.
we go to church.
But my point is, we walked in apparently to the part that automatically goes into that part. And there was a service or something going on. Mass, maybe? I think it was mass. It was like, yeah, I
But
think
they
it
were
was.
really into it. Like, you shouldn't be walking in there late
No.
or at all. Like, we just busted through the doors open, like,
And
what up?
Daisy's like, turn around, go.
Like, there should have been like a message or
Yes.
something that says like service in progress,
Yeah,
or,
I think so.
hey, it was just like bam, we're in your face. Bam, we're churching. What are you guys doing in here?
We're churching. But yeah, the administration offices were across the street. Hello, thanks for telling us. Anyways, so the pastor who was presiding over that funeral comes out and he's upset at them, obviously, but then he calms down because he becomes warm for the chick's form. And he's like, "Okay, I understand you didn't know, blah, blah, blah." And Sam asks, "Oh, okay, so this is why we interrupted. We didn't mean to." And the guy's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's my store. And I have more fan belts at my house." And Sam very smartly asked, like, why? And he's like, "Well, I get the packages delivered to my home, but that ends up being good enough for Carly." Oh, okay. She's gonna go off with another fucking stranger. So she trusts another stranger, and she's like, because it went well the first time, right? So she's gonna go, and they're like, and of course, Sam is just like, "Okay, I guess we're going," because he's again not gonna let her go off alone. So leading up to all this, again, even though he was dragged along by Carly because Carly kept making decisions that were not the smartest, I'm going to tell you right now a little foreshadowing. Um, and I know we're saying foreshadowing a lot. It's like a thing with us, but now it's become like a tick and I can't stop saying it. So, yeah, he was dragged along while Carly was making bad choices. But remember, Sam isn't being a good guy either. He's being rude. When they went to the wax museum, he's being a little shithead there. He's being disrespectful over here. So he's not being the nicest guy, okay? So
It's just he's touching everything.
he
He's touching,
is.
even if this is a business. Let's say it's
Mhm.
like it obviously looks abandoned. Nobody's been there a while. Everything's covered in dust. It's
Mhm.
really interesting. Everything is made of wax. The walls, the ground, there's wax everywhere. He's touching everything. Isn't this art to him? Like, it's art. It's somebody's art. And he's just goofing about touching everything, and to us it's like, because he's not real, so it's like, let's pick on him because he's being a complete asshole, touching everything. He even sits down like at the piano. And do you legitimately go to places and just touch everybody's shit? Do you ever go
No.
anywhere? How many times have we went to wax museums, and do you just go up to the figures or whatever? Ooh, I'm gonna touch, ha ha ha. And he thinks it's so goofy the whole time. And I don't think she's really doing it, but she
No.
also doesn't say, hey, leave that alone.
No. No, she doesn't. Paris Hilton, her boyfriend, side hat guy and bad boy are back at the campsite. And Paris's boyfriend wants to have a little quiet time, a little sexy time with her. So he forces the other two guys to go off and like, hey, go off, guys. I want to be alone with her. And she's all, there was some kind of chore that needed to be done. I don't remember. Maybe they were going to go meet up with the other people. I can't remember. But it was kind of funny because Paris is all like, oh, well, we'll go. She was all ready to go. And then he's like, no, we'll send off, those two guys. So off go Red Hat guy and Bad Boy, and Paris Hilton and her boyfriend stay behind. And now they're finally going to get some quiet time and alone time to themselves because they have the whole campsite to themselves. I think that's very romantic.
This is where we don't really get the vibe, but this is where it starts to really come into question, like me and you watching it. This is why I'm mentioning it, because we're like, why did he insist on going off and leaving the two at the camp? Because they're not giving us the vibe that he's the brother, but that's the reason. Because he's like, I want to get to my sister. But it's just, you're not
Yes.
feeling it. You're not feeling it that he's going off because he cares about his sister. It's more of a like, I care about her.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's where I guess maybe I'm sure they must have said it before, but that's the first time when we find out they're brother and sister. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I thought maybe Side Hat Guy was the brother because the way they were acting with him. And so, okay, I kind of get it now that why they were being kind of like shitty to each other. That makes sense. I mean, we've been shitty to each other in our lives. All right, now we have Sam Winchester, we have Carly, and they finally get over to the guy's house because remember, he has the fan belts there. And Carly decides she's going to stay in the truck and wait for Sam. Sam goes inside with the dude to go get it. But I don't understand why they couldn't both just stay in the fucking car. And
why? Why did she stay in the car? It just made no sense.
well,
She's
either
gonna
way, yeah, I think they both should have stayed in the car. But
Yeah.
if somebody had to go in, then both stay together because
Mhm.
it's two against one.
Exactly. You either both go in together or both stay out in the truck.
Yeah. So Sam goes inside and he asks to use the restroom because he needed to go wee. And he starts walking around. The guy tells him exactly where the restroom is. But again, he's fucking just walking around, poking around, looking at shit that isn't his, touching and opening doors and curtains. And I'm like, all right, dude. I mean, you're begging for it. You're begging to be killed here so bad. Again, these aren't real people, guys. Come on, okay? If this was a real person, I'm pro this person coming out alive. But it's a fucking movie. This guy deserves it. So Carly's outside, and what happens, Alma?
She notices the headlights out in the truck. Remember her
Mm.
brother threw the fucking beer bottle at the truck that showed up at the campsite. And she notices it. It's like, oh, two and two together. And she started honking the horn in the truck because she ditched her boyfriend. This is her main squeeze. This is her main squeeze. She let him go in there alone. But at least she has, the thought to honk the horn to try to
Warn him,
warn
yeah.
him. So he hears that, but like what the fuck is he supposed to
Yeah.
deduce from that?
Yeah,
Like,
she's telling me to hurry. Okay, we still got to get the fan bell. He doesn't know unless she's using Morse code and he knows Morse code. That's not going to do shit for us. But this alerts the dude that she's on to me. So he turns out the power in the house and Sam is stuck in darkness now. And it's like, oh great. I walked totally off path because I'm over here being a nosy ass shit and I don't know how to get back to where I'm supposed to be able to get out. So Sam ends up getting attacked in the dark and it's vicious. It's like he's getting got real good, but he's not killed yet. And then Guy's like, okay, I gotta go take care of Carly now. So Guy goes outside to get Carly while Sam is laying there. Just he's out for now. There's no way he's going anywhere. Runs out to get Carly. Carly, this is where I think she's finally being fucking smart. She locks the doors. The keys were in the car, and she's trying to get it started. She does finally get it started. She drives away, but then she ends up getting stuck. But I love this. So she gets out, and I notice she's wearing a pair of combat boots. I mean, a good pair of boots. And I'm like, that's, oh my God, I have a good pair of boots that I know that when I mean business, I got to wear those boots because, I mean, you could do whatever you need to. Those are my concert boots too, because you know how everybody's stepping on each other and all that shit. I always, I have concert boots. Yeah. Anyway, so she's able to kick shit down and get away from me, dude, and all that stuff with her boots. And but unfortunately she didn't win this fight. She gets dragged off and taken to the gas station, and dude ties her up, and she's stuck there. She's stuck with him. Back at the house, we see Sam Winchester all tied up to a chair. He's getting waxed. Alma said like that dude's like a really good this is his brother.
He's
Now
a
remember in the
professional.
yeah. In the beginning of the movie, we talked about because this is I think he might have made a couple appearances throughout the movie, but the only time we know for a fact that there's the brothers was from the beginning of the movie when they were little kids. We see brothers, and then now we see the reappearance of that brother.
And we can
I'm
tell
really
who's who because Bo, the one who caught Carly, we just know it's him so far. But when he's strapping and duct taping up Carly to that chair, we see that he has scars on his wrists.
mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, he's the kid in the beginning who was getting tied up and
Yeah,
he was bleeding around the wrist. So that's got to be him. And then you're right. I was like, who the hell is this guy? And they were like, there were two of them.
yeah.
They were twins, they're brothers. And that's who's at the house doing the professional Brazilian on
Shut up.
on the
Shut up.
boyfriend.
Oh my god.
Do you think
I
he did
hate
his
this.
whole body? Now
He
I'm
did
thinking he
his
did.
Well, he definitely took off that nasty mustache and beard he
He
had
got it off in one.
originally.
Or maybe he was just like, dude, come on. I'm gonna kill you, but first I'm gonna take care of this. He did him a
Um,
favor.
when he took off his eyebrows, though, I don't know why I thought that was so funny. I was like, "Oh my god, he looks so funny without his because we're so used to seeing Sam Winchester's face, Jared Padalecki's face. So when I saw it without eyebrows, it was just so funny because I'm like, "That's not what you look like." But and
And
then
that
that's what you look
you
like without eyebrows.
yeah, you said it looked really real. Like I wonder if they shaved his eyebrows off.
It did look a little too real. Anyways, um, but this is horrible. This is horrible. Okay, in the movie, yes, he deserved something to happen to him, but then I switch over to the mode where it's like, oh, this horrible thing is happening, and he's fucking getting turned into a wax figure. This is horrifying. I don't know why this is a nightmare of mine, but this is like a nightmare of mine. Well, because a lot of movies are themed around you being stuck inside your body and not being able to stop whatever's going on around you. Like whether it's like you're alive and they're doing an autopsy on you or blah, 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 whatever. So when I'm watching this and he cannot do anything that, he's getting turned into this figure, I'm like, that's that's nightmare inducing. He's alive. This thing is happening to him. And then you realize, oh my fucking God, all those people that you saw earlier throughout the town and stuff like that, the wax figures, all those people are people. All right. So he's getting sculpted, he's getting smoothed out. The other brother is an artist. He's an artist with wax, and he's turning Sam Winchester into a work of art, a wax figure to put in the wax. I don't know how he's going to display him, but he's going to put him in that wax plate, that house of wax that they have.
Seriously, suspend all belief in this movie. There is no fucking way he can make him look like a wax dummy with that machine shooting
Oh
all the wax.
yeah.
It looks like how you mentioned in the beginning about how you like the way that wax drips off a candle, but it was all over his body. He would need a day or two at least, even if he's that gifted a sculptor of wax. I just didn't believe it. But Talia
Well, see,
has
I think my boyfriend could do it because I saw his work earlier. But you are correct. I think it would have to take a little bit longer than the time that we're seeing played out in front of us. It would take longer for him to be able to smooth it out and everything. But Alma's just jealous of me and my boyfriend, you
yes,
know.
this is what we discovered. Dalia loves the struggling, tortured artist look. He's got long black hair. He's just fabulous. He's just like not understood, but Dalia understands him. Dalia gets him, and us around here, y'all listening, we don't get it because we've never been there like that. You don't know him like her.
All right, quick little break, everybody. Okay, we're gonna take a little bit of a break. Alma's gonna get some water. I'm gonna get some water.
And now it's time for Dinty Moore. Get your human stew on. What if somebody who works for Dinty Moore ever heard us and they reached out and said, please stop it? It's not funny anymore.
Okay, so we went and got our refreshments, and every time when I was little and I would hear the word refreshments, I always equated it to cookies and punch because whenever we were told that there was going to be refreshments somewhere, it was always cookies and punch. So now, as an adult, a full grown ass adult, I think cookies and punch. And that's not a good mix either.
No,
That's
it
too much
isn't.
sugar. That's too much fucking
And it
sugar.
was cheap punch.
I don't know, but it would, every time I heard refreshments when we were little, it always ended up being cookies and punch.
Yeah. And don't bring us those oatmeal iced cookies. Whenever people brought those out, it's like, do you fucking hate us? Are you trying to punish me? What the fuck did I do to deserve oatmeal iced cookies? That crap is the crap that my husband likes too. It's
You're
like,
so mean.
when you get little Debbie shit, and I can't even eat little Debbie shit, and I get pissed at him for his choices. I tell him, like, he gets the donut sticks. Who the fuck
What?
buys the little Debbie donuts? I'm sorry if this offends you out there if you buy the little Debbie donut sticks. Just eat a regular fucking donut. He buys them, and I'm like, I didn't even know they still made those. Like, they're making it for him and his grandma.
Oh my dear Lord. Awkward because little Debbie has reached out to us.
Oh,
You fucked it up again.
so we're gonna promote. You know what's the shit is the oatmeal sandwich.
Oh my God,
Why are
yes.
those so good? Those are amazing.
Those
And
are they. So real quick before we continue, I want to share this real quick, and I swear to God, I promise this is not an ad. I just wanted to share this because I thought it was really fucking cool. There is one of our listeners that shared that she has started making these candles that are horror themed. And they are soy candles, vegan and cruelty free. She's in the testing phase right now. So, like, she's figuring out all the awesome, delicious smells and all that stuff. But she is in Michigan. Everything's going to be horror themed and they are handmade. And I'm following her on Instagram. It's Final Girl Candle Co. And I'm telling you right now, I'm seeing some of the shit that she's sharing on her Instagram. And I'm so fucking excited because we love candles in this house. We fucking love candles. And like this one is called You'll Float Too. And I'm just going to read it real quick. She says that she's testing this one. The smell, I'm already smelling it. It's not even in front of me. She says, no circus is complete without cotton candy, notes of black currant, strawberry sugar, and tonka. I don't know what tonka is, but you know what? I'm smelling it and it smells good. Well, it seemed very apropos because we're talking about the House of Wax and we just happened to, discover her. Well, she's not selling them yet because she is in the testing phase. But as soon as she is selling these babies, we're gonna buy a whole bunch, and then we're gonna tell you guys go buy a whole bunch.
yeah, did you read this one? It said melt pool goals. Each burn you want to ensure your melt pool reaches across the whole surface of your candle. Typically, the sweet spot for a burn is between 2 to 4 hours. A Nightmare on Elm Street is shy of that time frame, so best throw on the sequel too. And I was like, ah, that's perfect. I love the
Oh
way
my
she described
god!
that.
Oh, she's a clever one.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool to be good with words?
I'm
Like
not.
just to know how to make things sound cool. Yeah, I don't know how that is.
Why am I even talking on a podcast if I'm not good with words? I don't know what's wrong with me.
So enter Nick, the brother, and Dalton, douche guy. Douche guy, red hat wearer. They finally arrived at the same point where Carly and her boyfriend entered the small town. They finally get there because they were going to go find his sister. Nick walks and they separate. They separate. For some reason, they're like, this is a good plan. Let's separate. Let's go spread out and find these guys. Now it looks like a normal little town. There's cars set up and everything, but still, there's something that looks weird about it. Shouldn't they realize that nothing looks correct? You know, you don't see people. You see lights and some cars, and they're thinking maybe that it's just like dusk and therefore it wouldn't be that busy. But how often do you go anywhere that you don't see movement from people? Anyway, Nick finds the gas station. Obviously, that's where they were going to be heading because they needed their fan belt. Um, Bo, bad guy, is in the gas station like basement. That's where he's tied up Carly. And Carly is starting to make noise because at least she's smart enough to be fighting this whole time. She's been already taped up to the chair and everything, and he's holding her mouth shut. But he grabs super glue and super glues her mouth shut. First of all, I was like, it doesn't like dry that quickly, right? He's thinking of everything though, okay, y'all. He's pressing her lips so hard together, and then he starts to blow on her lips. So creepy. It's so creepy because he leans serial killer creepy up to her face and blows on her lips while he mashes them together. This is where I was like, I know this movie isn't like the best movie or whatever. You can have fun with this movie. That is creepy as shit. That scene where he's doing that to her, and I made a little comment about, this is like pre-corona because they're not even like, he's just putting all of his babas, his like spit blowing on her face to do that. And Nick is still walking around though. He's looking around the gas station. The lights are on. He should encounter someone, but also he's willing to wait there and see if his sisters come through. Eventually, he comes up because he knows the brother or whoever this guy is who's just shown up at the gas station isn't going anywhere. So he goes up top. He leaves Carly to do whatever the fuck. And she starts to break loose from the chair she's been strapped to. I was like, yes. Yes. Okay. So we already know she's supposed to be like the final girl. Okay. Spoiler alert. She's busting through here. This is smart on her part because she keeps wiggling. And I remember when she ripped the arm kind of off the chair, it kind of seemed unscripted because she looked at it like, oh shit, that came off. And then the brother's up top and he's like, hey, my sister rolled through town with her boyfriend looking for a fan belt. Have you seen him? And Bo, the bad guy, could not look any more suspicious. He is the picture of, yeah, he's all like sweaty and just like, I didn't see anyone. And the brother's like, no, there's nowhere else around here. Okay, like for real, there's like literally this small town, one gas station. I know my sister had to have run through here. She and I think he described her, whatever. He's like, no. Meanwhile, Carly is getting really fucking loose and starts to like mess with her lips, trying to open her mouth, but she can't. They're super glued. And he was like, but you know what? My brother, he was down here for a little bit. Let's go up to the house and ask him if he's seen him. And Nick, the brother, is like, yeah, that's weird. I don't want to be doing that. But the sister starts to stick her little fingers up through the grates because I love you. If you're a horror movie, you gotta have grates. Remember we were talking about it in Alien last week, Aliens. Um, she's sticking her little fingers through the grate, and Bo is like, he looks down, he sees it, and he leans down to tie his shoelace, and he breaks out a pair of pliers. Is that what they're called? That tool? I'm like, he breaks out a tool from his pocket, and leans down and he snips off one of the fingers that she was sticking up through the grate to try to get her brother's attention. He just cuts it the fuck off. I was like, that's when you know this movie has some good points because makeup prosthetic wise, the few scenes where they actually do anything, I loved that part of him chopping off the finger because that was like, that's fucked. This dude is fucked. Everyone who gets caught in this movie, they're fucked. And then Dahlia brought up that she almost lost a thumb or a piece of her thumb being cut off. And so did I. We both have a
It was
story.
around the same time too.
Yes, it took me a minute to remember, but I remember you sending a picture of it, and
Mhm.
so did I, except I did actually go to the urgent care.
You did, and
I
I'm
did.
feeling I'm feeling it too right now, and it's
Yeah, we both
so
have
yeah,
this
that
funny
sucks.
part, I don't know if you can see it, of our finger where, oh my gosh, they like seriously They lifted it up and they cleaned
Uh,
underneath, and then just, like, kinda put butterfly stitches to fold it down.
uh,
And then the next day, because I had to they had to make sure it didn't touch the bone and everything. They wanted to X-ray
mhm,
it to make sure nothing happened, and they
mhm.
wanted to reopen it
Oh god.
to clean it out. And
Fuck you, no way,
so
don't
this
touch
is
me.
my regular doctor. He was like, "Oh, yeah, it'll hurt, and we'll have to renumb it, and then we're gonna have to open it up. It's probably gonna," and so he was at least honest, and he was like, "Or we could just see. We could just see and wait, because you can see my face, like, ah! We could just let it see if it heals
Oh,
okay." And I went with the latter. I just went ahead and waited, but I have no feeling in the tip of my thumb. We just let it
neither do
heal.
I.
It
Yeah,
took it took forever for it to heal, and I was so grossed out and terrified of the way they lifted the little, this should be the trigger warning for the show, shouldn't it? Me
it
talking about
should
the
have
little
been.
flap. But I
Yeah,
remember you sent a picture of yours too, and
yeah.
yours looked worse, and you didn't go to the hospital.
I wanted to because I knew I wasn't gonna die from it, but I wanted to get it stitches so that it can heal properly, but somebody who shall remain nameless, Kenny, didn't wanna take me, and he said I was overreacting, and later on, he said, yeah, he saw that it wasn't overreacting, but, I mean, and it's the same thing, it came off, but what I ended up doing was I ended up taping down paper towels over it and just putting, like, tons and tons of pressure over it, holding it down so that it ended up healing. It took quite a while though, because I kept having to do that. And it's funny how you don't realize how much you use certain parts of your body until you injure or cut or whatever that part of your body. So I didn't realize how much I used the tip of my left thumb until that happened.
It's my
And
left thumb too.
oh my god. But yeah, and now it's like it healed weird. It looks obvious that it looks like I grabbed a piece of someone else's thumb and put it on top of my thumb. And yeah, I don't feel it, and I like to roll over it because it's very obviously something happened to my thumb.
Yeah, and it feels funny because he doesn't have the sensitivity that it should, like the feeling, because it's numb. So I'm constantly like doing this with it. And it is
I
weird
do
because,
that too.
yeah, and I just thought it was, anyway. So both of us have a weird, almost chopping the tip of our thumbs off story. But in this movie, Carly gets her whole fingertip chopped off. I don't even remember which one, but it didn't matter. So she's screaming like with her mouth all glued shut, but she's like, fuck this, and starts to like rip and pull her lips apart. And I thought that looked so good because I don't know if you've ever used too much super glue by accident, because that shit just pours the fuck out really fast. And I know I've poured it on my fingertips and just been like tears coming out because I was like, I got it all over me. And her lips are like all mushy with the shit. And she manages to pry her lips apart just as Nick walks away. Is he's starting to walk away with this guy because he obviously is going to keep looking for his sister. But she pulls him apart and screams. Brother goes into action too. He starts to fight off Bo, and they're fighting each other. He can see and hear his sister now, and it's like, oh, okay, but he's supposed to be like the bad boy, but he's smart. He's smart. He fucking is fighting this guy off, and that's when we're both like, is there a final girl and a final boy? Ah, like,
Well, here's the thing.
mhm,
So, like you just said right now, he was supposed to be the bad boy. But while he was in the vehicle with his friend, we did find out that he was actually covering for his friend. So he didn't steal
you're
the
right.
vehicle and all that. He it's covering for his friend, and that's a good friend right there.
Yeah, he was, right? So he just had to put on like the hard facade. He was like, I gotta be hard, act hard. But at this point, like we realized he wasn't. He wasn't even a car thief, you know. But also, like, what's he complaining about? He's still really young. It's like he covered for his friend. He's still fine, you know. He wasn't in prison forever. And he successfully gets away from Bo and gets inside the gas station, locks the motherfucker out of there, and starts to try to get at his sister. He gets to her and she's just spilling the beans, you know, telling him, okay, we went to the house, they got Wade. I came up by myself and all that shit. She's filling him in, and Bo just takes off, I guess. Okay. Meanwhile, and every time I say meanwhile, I always think it's like the comic book style, like meanwhile up above me in letters, a little white box, black letters. Meanwhile, Dalton, his friend, the one who got to the city, the little town with him at the same time, he finds the wax museum. And I wondered why he went in there because it's dark. That place isn't going to be open. He goes inside and he starts to notice the creepy wax figures. And I don't know why I keep calling them wax dummies. Wax figures is what they're called. And also the wax figures which they mentioned while they were snooping around earlier, Carly and her boyfriend, they're not like celebrities or anything. They're just people doing normal things like standing or dancing or sitting. And he finds the same piano that Wade was fucking with earlier. When Carly and her boyfriend originally walked into this place and were messing with everything, the thing that bugged me the most was that he sat down on the piano and started to play because I
That's
thought,
funny because I didn't. I mean, obviously, I saw that, and then when you're about to say something, I didn't make that correlation at all.
I only did because I thought that was like the thing that tipped the scales. The disrespect of him going in there and touching everything, but then touching the piano. He was being watched. He was being watched the whole time because now here's his friend shows up. He's looking around for this guy and he sees him sitting at the piano. So he walks up to him, but something's a little weird looking about Wade. Something looks a little off. And then he goes up to him and it's like, oh my God, he's like a dummy of himself. He looks like a floppy, like just creepy version of himself, which he thinks is weird enough, but then the eyeballs move in it. And that's when you realize he's still fucking alive inside. He's inside of it, and the friend is like, I'm gonna get you out of here. So he starts to touch his face, but as he's doing that, the wax is still fresh and it's coming off, and as he's doing that, he's peeling off his skin to come off with it. But the whole time he's touching his face, I'm like, just stop touching his face. Why does he keep touching his face? It's almost like he's panicked and in shock and starts to peel off his face. And that's when enter the twin, Vincent, because he has the long black hair. That's how you can tell the twins apart. Like one had long hair and he's real emo, and the other guy, he has short hair and he's like mechanic look. So that's how you tell them apart. They're played by the same guy also, which I had mentioned to Dali because she was like, I wonder who
I
played
had no idea. I had no idea that. Why did they do that?
why? But why would they be played by the same guy? And I feel like I'm doubting myself that this was like actually one dude playing two guys because they don't look like each other. Enter Vincent. He has a wax mask on, which is really fucking cool looking. I think Dalia noted that it looked
Yep,
cool. I'm sorry, some
it
of the
does.
things in this movie just look cool.
They're aesthetically pleasing. Yes.
Yes, and he has this really smooth mask on. He noticeably only has one eye though because the other one looks like very hollow. There's nothing behind the mask in it, which is also strange because you don't see anything behind that little hole. It just looks like an empty space. But he
Yeah, I
shows
have. Jill doesn't have an eye, and you still see the flesh that.
yeah, you see
Um,
something. It's not
yeah,
it's just not just a like a little hole. And so he shows up, Vincent comes in, he attacks the friend who is peeling off Wade's face. It's just like stop it. Fucking stop touching it. And slices off part of his face and you can see all of the side of the jaw of poor Wade. There's no way that Vincent got Wade ready for the showroom floor in this short amount of time. I call shenanigans. I call shenanigans. So he starts to chase him because he attacks him and he's got like some badass knives. They're like really ornate. Now that's something we should have looked up. Like what kind of knives were that? Was there some significance in why he had these two matching knives that look carved? The handles were like really
you know
ornately carved.
what? Now that I think about it, that should have been our clue because when we saw the truck guys, the one who was picking up the roadkill, his knife was pretty too, and then we see
Yeah.
this knife was pretty too. So maybe like, yeah, because
Maybe that's related
I didn't
somehow.
even think of that. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah, and so he ends up chasing him. He ends up falling down like a toddler that fell down some stairs. Why is everybody always falling down? I'm like, he could have just caught up to him. Maybe he's just more athletic than him. I don't know. Anyway, he caught up to him. He falls on the ground and they don't show it. They just show him stabbing like at the ground with the two knives at the same time. But then by the time he's standing up on top of the guy on the ground, you notice that his head just rolls away. So he chopped off his head, with like his supernatural strength. I had looked it up only because I thought to myself, Wade could have still been saved. I'm not sure if he would have survived or anything, but why couldn't he have lived? He just had hot wax on him. Was it really that hot? And I think I got too into it thinking about hot wax when it falls on you, how quickly it cools off and it just might burn. But his skin came off. So I can see how that would kill you, but nobody ever checks up on him again. And I looked it up only because I'm wondering like, do they just accept that he's dead? But it says at this point Wade died from shock.
Well, you see his eyes roll back. So I assume he went into shock and then yeah, he was gonna die because of blood loss.
Oh, you're right because they showed his eyes a lot. You know, they had Jared Padalecki in that makeup. They're like, roll your eyes back a few times, and they filmed it just to get like the perfect dying scene. Like, how much are you gonna act that anyway? So I guess yeah, so he's dead. Carly's talking to her brother, and she tells him that she saw somebody living because she's telling him the whole town is fucking wax. They're all real people. Dalia mentioned she figured this out earlier, even before she saw them. Once she was getting caught, she's like, holy fuck, the whole town is just wax figures. And they're inside. Like she's explaining it to him, and the brother looks really disturbed. Those are all like human beings. Those are all people. Nobody here is real. And she says that she remembered though a lady moving in a window. The brother's like, let's go check it out. So they end up at that house and they climb up to the window and the lady opens the window again. And of course, she's waxed too, but she's been animatronics. They use animatronics to get her to
Like
move.
in Home Alone.
Yes. Yes. So they're having the party in there. Yeah, because she had the TV on too. She had a TV on too, so it was like a really good scene. Good trick, man. These twins, they're really smart. They got some tricks up their sleeves, man. They got to make it look real. Okay, at some point Nick had gotten himself armed with a wrench, and I wrote it down because it was just like a regular sized wrench, and he got it from the auto parts, the gas station, but there were thousands of tools there. He looked around and saw a regular sized wrench and was like, this is good enough. You sister, you say that there's somebody here murdering people. I'm just gonna get a regular sized wrench. You don't get anything, sis. I'll just take this. I'm gonna protect us both. Meanwhile, Paige and Blake, that's Paris's character and her boyfriend, these names, I couldn't forget them, Dale. You know, I have a thing. I do like word association to remember everybody's names. It's just it's I don't know how I remember them, but I think it's mostly because I've never met a Paige or a Blake. Have you know
You're
it?
also really fucking good with names.
Okay, now we're back with Paige and Blake, and Thalia's like, "Oh, they're still doing it because the whole
But
movie."
they're still doing it because they're not doing it.
It's interesting because we did note that they're supposed to be doing it like they're hormone filled young kids or something, but they're never doing it. They're never doing it. They were back at the campsite because he wants to be alone with her. And this is when we find out that Paris has been trying to tell her boyfriend that she's probably pregnant.
Oh, I forgot about that. That should have
She's
been. I'm sorry, guys. So the whole time throughout the movie, she's saying that she might be pregnant. I completely forgot about that.
Well,
That's
she didn't
horrible.
she said she needed to tell him and didn't make a big deal about it. But here, now that she's alone with her boyfriend, she really wants to tell him, and you can tell that she's trying to talk to him, but she also there's like a little striptease scene or something like that. But she is trying to be serious because every scene they show them, they're kissing, but she keeps trying to get him to be quiet so she can say something, and he's always cutting her off. He's like constantly, whatever you're saying, I don't want to hear it. Kind of like he comes off as a real dick because he's not listening to her at all. And so this is really sad. Did they actually make this young woman in this movie pregnant? That is so messed up.
This movie's traumatizing in so many ways.
Yes, I'm like, okay, so he's not listening. He's more focused on horny times. And then the music kind of cuts out and he's like, "Oh, did the radio just go out?" He seems real hot-headed, quick to temper. And instead of listening to her, he's no, I'm gonna go fix the music. He goes out to go check the radio, which is conveniently outside of the tent. I mean, they're listening to the music, but it's a distance away. He leaves the tent, he leaves her be, And then he gets up to the radio, which has been turned off, which he didn't think was weird. He's like, let me just turn it back on. Who the fuck turned off the radio? He sees that his phone is flashing. He has a message. And when he checks his messages, it's a message from Carly. Earlier, when she was fighting, I guess, and I don't remember her calling anybody, but I guess she was doing. Do you remember her calling anyone when she was fighting off the bad guys?
I do because I remember that they didn't answer, that's why.
Oh, okay. Well, apparently, well, you know what? That makes sense because it just recorded the struggle, which is what the guy is hearing on the phone. He can hear her screaming and he's like, oh shit. So I thought that was like, oh, yay. He heard her. They're going to go. But no, because there's two of them. There's two guys. And Vincent, our struggling artiste, he is at the campsite. And you see a flash of him heading into the tent where Paige tucked herself into sleep. And I wondered, why did she turn off the light and tuck herself into sleep? He left the tent, but then I realized it's because she's pissed and she's sad because she was trying to tell him something important and he wasn't listening. So she had literally like tucked herself into her sleeping bag, like, fuck it. I'm not gonna have sex tonight. Vincent ends up in the tent trying to attack her, but she fucking takes off. And so we start cheering for her. But as she's running out the tent, you can see her boyfriend has been killed. He has a big knife in his neck. Dahlia mentioned that knife. It does look
Mhm.
like, anyway, he has a big knife in his neck. And Vincent puts his boot on it, on his head, and pulls the knife out as Paige takes off running. She is barefoot and she's just running, running, running to try to escape. And I love it when they run and they don't trip. The two guys in this movie, have you noticed that they both tripped while they were running away? But it was the guys, so yay. It wasn't the typical woman who's tripping
She
over
did
herself.
really good because she's running barefoot, she's
Yes.
barely wearing anything,
Uh-huh.
and she's not being stupid, and unfortunately, yeah, I mean, these people were not gonna survive, but I
No.
think her character, they made her
I
character,
didn't I didn't
survive
think
as much as she could.
exactly. I didn't have a reason to want her to die because I don't think she did anything stupid. Everybody's
No,
done stupid shit this whole movie, but she's the
but the
only
other
one.
people brought it on the whole team, on the whole group, though, that's why.
Yeah, but at the same time, I didn't, the boyfriend was just a dick. Um, Carly's boyfriend was rude and disrespectful or whatever, but Paige didn't do shit. She was just trying to tell her boyfriend that she's pregnant. Okay, so she's getting chased by this serial killer. And she ends up in like an abandoned place. There's a bunch of cars, and we're like, those are the cars of the people. And while hiding, she finds like a whole basket full of cell phones. And she smartly starts to dig through them to try to see if any of them have battery. And of course, they don't. But she arms herself with a big pipe or something, not a regular size wrench. At least it looks like a weapon. She's trying to hide from this guy. He catches up to her really quickly, probably because she's barefoot. She didn't even have any shoes on. She was disturbed while she was trying to tuck herself into bed. And she stabs at him. At least she gets a stab at him right in the face. But it just scrapes part of his wax mask off. And then she takes off running again. He even like stabs her through a grate. Again, a grate. Apparently, that's just also a movie trope. It's gotta be great so that you can stick fingers through them, and so you can see what's beneath it. Everything's made of grates. She's trying to get away, and eventually he just catches up to her. This part, not really realistically. All of a sudden, Vincent has this superhuman strength and spears this pointy, sharp pipe through Paige's head, which impales her right through the forehead and leaves her at a diagonal angle and like still kind of up. Like gravity ends up kind of making her head slide down, and I thought the makeup effects on that looked really good. I thought that looked like like she had a pipe going through her head, and he ends up having the friend's video camera. The friend earlier who had the video camera, he has his video camera and he's filming her face up close, and then he pulls the pipe out and then she's dead. That's it for her. Oh yeah, but Dale did mention that ruined her head for waxing. Like, isn't he supposed to be
Yeah,
making artwork out of these people? And he really fucked up her head. Like, how's he gonna
but I figure he's, like, really good at his, work,
craft?
so he at his craft, so he'll be able to make that look just fine.
So she'll be fine because he's going to make her look great. She's going to look fabulous. Nick and Carly, they break into a hunting shop back in town. And I just assume it was a hunting shop because there's camo everywhere and like deer heads or something. They break into the place and the brother finds a crossbow, but before they can even get more weapons, Bo shows up shooting. He's got a gun. So he chases them off and they end up running into the theater where Baby Jane is playing, I guess, where the movie's playing. And they hide amongst the wax figures in the audience. Now, when they look around the whole place, it is so creepy because now you know, like, each one of those is a person. And some of them don't have eyes, like their eyes are closed and waxed shut. And a lot of them are like, he even has ushers. He's got everybody just set up, some laughing, eating popcorn. This is fucked. This is more than just like a serial killer. This guy's really fucked in the head. I'm sorry, Dali, your boyfriend. Something wrong with him other than the murdering part. Anyway, so she's hiding in the crowd. And the whole time I'm wondering, like, where's the brother? But you can clearly see her.
I think
She
she did a really good job.
Yeah,
I
she
would have
did.
been moving and
Sh
coughing and shit.
he looked like he was counting the people in the audience to try to see who was there. And so eventually he sees somebody that looks like her and he shoots, but it wasn't her. And that's when you see like makeup effects again, the wax figure like head explode. It wasn't her, but she is found and she starts to run out of the theater. And that's where you find where the brother was hiding. He was hiding so he could jump out and shoot the guy with the crossbow. He shoots him a couple of times and then they're just like, okay, he's dead. He's dead. They just leave him. They take his shotgun away, his big old gun, his weapon. There's no fighting anymore. They just leave him on the ground and she's just like, let's hide the gun and let's go. Let's go find everybody else. So they jaunt out of the movie theater together and they just leave him there assuming he's dead. They end up back at the house where the murderers live, okay? Because they're like, where do we go? Let's go back up to the murderers and house and let's find out where everybody is. On the way to the house, they start looking for her phone. They can't find it. They find the scene of the crash where she was in the car where she was fighting with the guy earlier. They didn't really look for the phone. They didn't. She reached into the car seat like one time. I can't find the phone. I can't find the car keys. That's it. Once again, she's making the decisions for everyone here. Our final girl is making the stupidest decisions for everyone
She
here.
does that because she's the one that led them down the path to get killed.
Yes, and she's just fucking everyone else over along the way. They make it back to the house. They start snooping around in the murderer's house. That's when they discover that the lady's funeral they were at was their mother, and they had a set of conjoined twins that were separated at a very young age. That's Vincent and Bo. Vincent and Bo both end up back at the house, of course, because where are they going to go? Home. At some point, the brother breaks some glass to try to get at a phone, remember? And he wrapped his shirt around the bat to break
Yeah.
the glass open, which was stupid. And it's like they're going to see there's broken glass. I just keep thinking that everything they're doing is like the opposite of trying to hide or get away. The brothers are having a very convenient conversation about, oh, mother would be so proud of you for your work. And Vincent picks up a toaster and a hot spoon from a candle and like burns it over some candle so he can fix his face so you can know he's the artist, he's the one been doing the wax work. And the brother has gotten his brother to help him in murdering everybody that shows up because he's just messed up somehow. He tells the brother, he's berating him too. He's like really mean to the brother. You can tell he's been abusing his brother too. He's an awful, awful, awful person. Carly and her brother need to get the fuck out of there. And instead of going out the front door or running away, they walk deeper into the house, finding a tunnel. And of course, one of the brothers catches up to them. Vincent catches up to them deep inside. I mean, like deep down inside of this house. Like, what the fuck? This is where they find their friend, one of their friends. They see him. He is it's the hat guy. the hat guy is covered in wax, and there's a little thing that has his head pinned onto his body, and the brother is like, I can't leave my friend like this, because that's his friend. That's the guy that he covered the for the crime. So obviously he cares so much about him. So he tries to get his body out of the thing, but in doing so his head comes off, because remember, he got beheaded. And Vincent shows up. They start fighting. They knock over this huge vat of like boiling hot wax onto the ground, which starts a fire across the ground, which separates Vincent from them, and they take off running. They take off running. This is where you see that the reason that they were walking deeper and deeper under the house is because the house leads up to the house of wax. It's like a tunnel. They make it out there. The first thing they see is Wade inside the house of wax. Her boyfriend is dead. So they already know everybody's gone. In fact, they had even passed the truck where Paige and Blake had been thrown in. I don't know if you remember this, Dahlia, but it was hilarious because so terrible, the acting from this chick at this point. She just sees her friends are dead. And I'm like, the other time she's screaming and running, she looks
You
scared.
remarked on that because you said, like, she doesn't seem disturbed at all that her
She
friends are
didn't.
dead.
She did not seem disturbed at all. I said, at least in the other parts when she's scared, she's looking scared, but she sees her two friends dead in the back of that truck, and she goes, "No." With no facial reaction whatsoever. So Vincent breaks loose. They all meet up in the wax house, the house of wax. They're all in there, and they start to fight, and at some point the brother gets stabbed in the legs. I made fun of him so bad for getting stabbed in the one leg and then immediately becoming paralyzed from the waist down. He couldn't get back up. His sister is fighting. She gets punched in the face and goes flying across the ground, and he can't do anything. He's just laying on the ground, all tirada, just completely useless. And this is, how many movies do we see this where the guy is like big? In Aliens, I had mentioned Hicks. She has to practically carry him out of there. Anyway, he's laying on the ground, and instead of running out of the building, I mean, because I'm sorry, if the brother can't run, he's fucked. Just leave him, run out of the building. Instead, she's like, I'm going up the stairs. The fire from downstairs has started to consume everything. Remember
And
this.
everything is made out of wax, so it's
Yes,
melting.
everything. The walls, the bookshelves, there's shit falling off of everything. Everything is being superheated quickly because everything is made out of fucking wax. She starts running up the stairs and falling through them like in the gooey scene in was it Poltergeist or was it Nightmare on Elm Street when she Poltergeist, when they're
It was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street, when she's running up the stairs and it starts melting like marshmallow, and her feet are starting to go through while she's running upstairs. How does he get killed? I think I forgot to mention the guy getting killed.
But I just remember him falling through the melted part. I don't remember how he gets killed.
I don't either. Bo ends up on the ground face down. Vincent shows up too, and he starts attacking her. So she starts heading up the stairs. Why is she running further into the building instead of getting out? Her brother is still useless on the ground. She's now being chased by Vincent. She successfully fought off like Bo multiple times, and the brother is just like, he's just gonna melt into the ground with everything else. She's running away, and she ends up locking herself in a room because this wax house has multiple floors too. It has like this staircase leading up into this bedroom slash nursery where there's a crib with a set of wax conjoined twins. And it's like, I think we get the point. They were conjoined at some point. They overdid the whole we were conjoined twins. She locks herself in there. How does she lock herself in there? Like the door is shut, and Vincent has to cut through the wall with his giant knife, and he slices through the conjoined baby twins wax sculpture. We get it. Okay. She's inside. I don't think she has a weapon. I have no idea what she's defending herself with. I think she has a bat. That's how the brother died. Bo gets his face bashed in with the bat.
That's right, because she
Fuck.
was fucking, she battered him in the face so much. Like, that's how I've always told my kids, if you get the upper hand, you fucking bash till you see brains. And finally, she did that. She was
Yes.
going as she kept crushing and crushing. till she knew he was actually dead. And I'm like, I applauded that moment.
See, that's how I fucked it up.
We just made a mistake. It's not a big deal.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on with that. Okay. So yeah, I fucked that up. I forgot how the brother died. So, oh
I
well.
did too. I just, but as soon as you
Why
mentioned the
did I
bat, I
forget?
remembered
Yes.
because that was a really good
Dalia,
thing that
we were
she
yelling.
did.
Yeah, we were yelling, dale, 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 because she just kept the finally she did the smart thing. So she's in the room, she still has her bat, but he still has a giant fucking knife. Okay. This is when the brother decides his legs do still work. So he makes it up the melting stairs. And how? How? His feet are going all the way through it. How is he surviving all of this thick? It's not a little bit of wax. This is like, this is so much fucking wax.
That shit burns. If you've ever even gotten just a tiny drop of hot wax on you, like it fucking
It's,
burns.
yeah,
So
yeah. If yeah, he's in it to his knees, running up the stairs. Okay, his legs work good enough now, I guess. So she's in the room, but he makes it in there too. And the brother now is there at least to help. That's when he pulls out the knife from his leg because that's what he got stabbed with, and they managed to kill Vincent. And then more of this conjoined, we get it, crap. Okay. He falls through the melting bed down into the floor below him and lands right on top of his brother in the fashion in which they're born. Total overkill. Not the killing of them, but the whole conjoined twin thing. We fucking get it. It's too much. It's too much. And then Dalia's yelling, they need to get out of there, just start digging through the walls. So they're starting to. How fun was that looking, though? That looked really
it did look
fun.
very satisfying.
Yeah, I thought it looked really fun. So now they're trying to get out of the building because they're like, we don't, they're fucked. They're inside of this melting fucking building, and it is melting like chocolate fast, like this weird caramelly, like gross looking chocolate that kids don't eat, but probably only like your grandma eats, and digging through the walls, swimming through it, and they're falling with the House of Wax sign on the outside as they make it to the outside of the building, which I like that part. I liked it. I thought that looked cool the way that they kind of emerge outside of the sign as the building is just turned into a big pool of wax. Yay! So the brothers are dead, even though I kept saying maybe they'll still make it out because these movies, you never know. Maybe they'll show up as conjoined twins permanent, like the wax melted them back together. Stop it already. We get anyway. It's the next morning. They lived. Did they deserve to live? Did they deserve to live more than anybody else? No, I don't think so. But at least this time the twist was like that the twins died, the twin murderers, and these two brother and sister.
Oh my fucking god, I didn't even get that. They were
Yeah,
twins
yeah.
too.
So they lived. So yeah, exactly. It's too much. You just, anyway. So they lived to the next day, and then all this emergency services are there. All of this, like ambulances, tons of cops, and there's like the head cop guy comes up to them, and they're in an ambulance getting medical care. Because remember, Nick's legs stopped working. He was temporarily paralyzed, so they got to make sure that his legs are good. They're like, oh yeah, they asked the best question here because they're like, how did nobody know these guys were out here fucking killing all these people? And the cops like, well, the sugar mill closed up 10 years ago, and really it's not even on a map anymore. So they were just picking off people off the road, and we saw them. They're picking up parts of people that don't look burned or anything. It just like one of them picked up
Yeah.
an arm. It's just a human arm. Like, why did it look like that? Didn't the whole place burn down? And either you should be covered with wax or you're completely burned to a crisp. The buildings were found around it, but that building itself, where all the bodies were, why are they pulling out bodies and body bags the next morning? That was so silly. The cop in his hand, he has a camera and a bag that we also said he pulled the camera out of that melted building, and it has no wax on it. It's not burned. And he's telling them, yeah, we just they were just killing everybody. They close up the ambulance, and inside the ambulance the brother shows that he stole the camera somehow. He stole the camera, and he says maybe there's some good memories on it. Number one, that's fucking evidence. What good memories are going to be on that? He stole the camera. And as they're driving away, he's like, the cop is on his radio and he says, does he tell them to, or he just says it that there's
I
two?
don't know, but this is where we find out it wasn't just the twin brothers. There
Mhm.
was a third brother.
Yes, they they like there weren't two Sinclair brothers, there were three. And then they show the dude, the roadkill, the one who was clearing out all the roadkill, sitting in the back of his truck, feeding his dog some carcass looking thing. And you're like, he's the third brother. It's like, oh my gosh. So that's where it ends, them driving off. The third brother obviously was the one luring everybody
Alma, that's
there.
not where it ended.
It isn't? What happened?
No, remember My Chemical Romance song?
Oh,
That's like, oh my god, this is so early 2000s. We heard that song. It's a good song. Don't get me wrong.
what did you think? We did shoot this movie because we thought it was fun, and we
It
had.
was fun.
We're not critical of movies. We're not here to critique these
Uh-uh.
movies on a hardcore basis here.
I liked it. It was fun after, especially after the movies and the subjects. And I just needed a good after this week. I just needed a really good fun movie. I forgot about the beginning, but once we were able to move beyond that part, I
Mhm,
got back into like remembering the fun stuff of the movie. I said like I like Paris Hilton in this movie. I think
mhm.
her character is fun. And then I had completely forgotten that Jared Padalecki gets killed in it. I thought he was the one that makes it to the end. It's so funny. I guess it's only been a few years, but I guess that's how my brain works. But I
Yeah,
had fun. I liked it. I
I
really
did.
liked it.
And I did remember, I thought that I remembered it as Jared Padalecki being the brother. I remembered him being the brother, but I wasn't the only one because when I did look up the movie, apparently a lot of people, that point was lost on them because Chad Michael Murray plays the brother, but their chemistry just wasn't there as a brother or sister. It wasn't. But the whole movie, we picked it because we've seen it before, but also Talia and I have a really good time watching these movies. We love to yell at people. We love to cheer on some of these people to die. They're not real. We don't have to feel
They're
bad.
not real people.
We're over here talking about them disrespecting all that stuff. It's because it's fun. Just have fun watching the movie. But there are some points in the movie that I did like. I did like the makeup effects. I love the wax shit. I loved
Oh
it.
yeah,
I
100%.
it
Yeah,
was it's really cool. I love the way the building looked melting, and I love that small town freaking creepy feel.
yeah.
Okay. And the people in it weren't really anything like spectacular. Like their characters weren't anything too in depth. They were not. There wasn't too much depth there because we couldn't even tell that two of them were brother and sister.
But that's okay because I like we talked about. It was aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and it's satisfying because there was an ending, even though they left it up in the air like, "There's a third brother. Is he gonna?" He obviously wasn't the artiste, and he wasn't the one killing them.
So here's the part where I would normally do a real world connection. I have a good one, but I was telling Alma that I'm really not feeling well right now, and I don't want to rush through it because I don't think that would be fair because I like doing these, and I also don't want to come back to and film and record it later and add it on because then it would be like really obviously added on. So I decided that I'm gonna actually film this in a video and I'm going to put it on Instagram. So I decided to make it that way into an IGTV because, like I said, I mean, you all know if you've been listening to us, I love these real world connections, but I have not been feeling well health wise. And while I enjoy and I love this and talking to Alma right now, just put me in great spirits. I love it. I
I'm
don't think I could sit
awesome.
up. I don't think I could sit up
Anybody,
any longer.
everybody would agree. They would love to. No, but it's true. I want to see it. I was telling her just making an IGTV, but we're always like on the same page.
We
And I can see
are.
my sister. She's been such a, let's say, like corny. She's been such a trooper, but in reality, it's because I know that she's having a good time. I see her smile. She has a beautiful smile. Y'all don't get to see it
Oh.
as much as I do. But talking about the movie and it's fun, and I love it when she just lets me just talk and she
I
listens to
like
me.
listening to her talk.
She does. She lets me just talk and talk, and I appreciate that because most of the time during the day, I have to be so quiet all the time. So when I see my sister, I just want to fucking talk. I'll just get everything out. So I appreciate everybody.
Yes.
Listening to this one is a totally fun movie. If you haven't seen it, I don't know how else to describe it. It's generic calling it a fun movie. It's just get in the moment. It's a little exciting. And it's also fun for nostalgic purposes, seeing something from a different decade because it's different. They didn't have phones like we do. And it's just like if they just had a fucking phone, you know? Anyway, so you all will be seeing Dalia in a video later doing her real world connection. So you don't miss out because I know I love to hear them and I'm always the first person to watch her videos. Everything she posts
Oh.
is always worth listening to me. For next week's movie, we decided because this movie starred Jared Padalecki, we decided to choose our other supernatural favorite,
Woohoo.
Jensen Ackles.
Ackles.
Yes, in
Oh my God, My Bloody Valentine.
Yay! So we're choosing two movies by our supernatural guys, and that's what
And
we'll
we're
watch.
also supernatural fans too, so
Obviously, we are. Even I
obviously.
got my husband into it, so we'll watch that for next week.
You can find My Real World Connection on IGTV on our Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, Alma, can you let everybody know how they can find us on Instagram or our website, which is brand new, by the way? I redid it.
I was gonna say, Dahlia has redone our website, so check us out there, nightmaremoviepodcast.com. And our Instagram is at Nightmare Movie Podcast. You can
And I have started tweeting again. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I started
oh,
tweeting again.
oh yay, so she is. And then you can email us at nightmaremoviepodcast@gmail.com and you can twat with us at
I don't know why I always find that funny. I know it's stupid. At Nightmare on Fifth, that's Nightmare on 5TH. Oh, thank you,
Yay!
Alma.
Okay, thank you, Dalia, so much. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Nightmare on Fifth Street, a horror movie podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Also, remember to head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and let us know what horror movie you would like us to discuss. Thank you for listening.